Welcome to The Vault with Financielle. This is a safe space where we talk all things life and money and no topics are off limits. Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday.
Good morning, Vault Day.
Vault Day.
Best day.
Happy Vault Day to those who celebrate.
Oh my God.
Of which, there are a lot of you now.
Yeah.
Oh my God, there are so many of you. We kind of forget that it's not just us. So we like do this and have a great time, record it, and then crack on. And when we listen to it back on Vault Day, we go, we had such a good time. Do other people listen to this? Because it's just our chat.
Like, that is a fun, informative, educational podcast.
Who are these?
I don't know about you guys, but Holly and I have real issues in our friendship group when it comes to the Vault, because some friends feel that others get more airtime than others. So Charlotte wants to be on. I don't know what your dilemmas are and what your controversial opinion, but Holly, remember,
She'll have to send the dilemma in.
Charlotte wants to be featured as one of our case studies or something, and I've got a lot of stories about Charlotte, so I'm surprised that
what do you want me to share?
She's not come
You be careful what you wish for. That's all I'm going to say. And if you have got a dilemma, you can message into thevault@financielle.com and we will gladly read it out for you.
And we'll call you like Lawlet.
Lawlet. Law short.
No, she'll want a full name. She's main character energy, like she'll want a full name.
Okay, controversial opinion time for today. I'm scared for this one. We should all be doing our spending on credit cards.
Who came up with that? Do you know what
half
podcast?
the internet, I think.
Yeah. No. Just no.
I was going devil's advocate. Why should you?
Why should you? Well,
what would people say?
If the finance bros or anything to go by, or the like, I nearly said tacky. I don't mean to be so personal. Spammy TikTok accounts will tell you otherwise. The Avios points guys that are sat in the private jet seats and content creators. Yeah,
my points.
They've been like exposed, haven't they? Where they've shown that people rent. It's not even a private jet. It's like a shell.
Yeah, like a little studio.
Like an
but they're not paying for
shell.
Air Miles with private jet with Air Miles anyway. Like
but
it's
that's
not like
what
the first class people.
The showing off. Like, oh, I love that they outed people. Yeah, people think that they can hack the system, get the points, get something in return, feel like they're getting one over on the credit card companies because they're so savvy. Of which we have spoken about before. We do know a couple of people that spend a lot of time and energy utilising those points to the best of their ability because they track it. Yeah, it's like a hobby for them. They like it. It leans into that like organisational, tactical spreadsheet type of behaviour. But if we're talking about the standard person on the street, you're not going to get massive rewards in turn for spending on your credit card. You're arguably going to go the other way where you end up leaning on it a little bit too much. Oh, I missed that minimum payment this month, or I'll just put the holiday on it, and it kind of snowballs into unmanageable debt.
Yeah, there's so many arguments that are like positive ones for putting big purchases on credit cards where people want that extra protection. You do that, get the protection under the Consumer Credit Act. You get a lot of that protection with chargeback, by the way, as well on a debit card. But lots of people do want, like for that big fridge or that holiday, that big purchase, you get so much extra protection, up to 25 grand. That means if it's faulty, if it's fraudulent, if it's the company goes bust, lots of different things, you can use your rights under the Consumer Credit Act. But you also have a lot of those rights under chargeback as well, so you could arguably use your debit card. But all your spending, I think you're hinting at the points means prizes brigade, which so few people win. One of those examples is where it falls down is like a Harvard Business Study review. A Harvard Business Review study proved that we spend more with credit, meant like literally spend more. So it's not like you just switching out I'll use my credit card instead of my debit card. Because you have this line of credit, you are like factually proven to spend more when you use credit. The percentage changes depending on if it's credit card or it's buy now pay later, if it's loans and stuff, but we spend more. So even if like say you spent 25% more, but you got 5% cash back or 5% worth of points, you're still down. You still not beat the system. And so the way I always say people look at this is, do you think like Amex is stupid? Do you think they're a really shit company? Like, have you seen how successful Amex are? I'm pretty confident they're still a debt-free business, by the way. Last time I looked, they were like Visa. Oh, it might be Visa or MasterCard. I'll have to have a look at Amex actually. But do you think they don't know what they're doing? Or do you think they know that if they give you some Avios points here and there, that you will spend more on that card and ultimately it'll lead to more revenue for them?
Do you know what I find really interesting? The concept, and we're weird, we always say it, we're financial weird, like we've got this system and methodology and it's different and it works. Do you know when you go on holiday and you get the bill at the end of the month and you review your past behaviour?
How long
at
are
the end
you
of the
going on
week,
holiday for?
I wish. At the end of your stay. So if it's 2-night stay, put it on the room. We're having dinner in the restaurant, put it on the room. We're having drinks, put it on the room. All that stuff. It's like, it's not your money. So it's like,
Same mentality.
Put it on the room. And you have to then, at the end of the week, day, month, you have to review your spending behaviour and you have to be like, shit, we literally went da-da-da.
And everyone goes like, how much do you think it is?
Yeah.
And what's it going to be?
But,
What's it going to be?
But people, and I know these people, are friends as well, do that every month with their credit card. They're sitting at the dining room kitchen table going through the statement of their past behaviour.
I've got to pay the credit card bill, I would die. Like I'm stressed
thinking
about it.
Think
What's
about
even
it.
on it?
Do you want to play the holiday game every month where you're like, how much did we spend? What were we feeling that day and we went a bit bougie or whatever it might be? Every month. That's how you live your life and that's how you manage your money as a family. So it's quite alien to me, that concept.
Kevin at the Plaza and Home Alone.
Yeah. You spent $500 on room service, of which is like a drop in the ocean. I'm like, bargain.
Peter, you leave first class to Paris. You're fine.
Do you know what I mean? That's what it is. You literally review, get a statement, you review the statement, and then you pay the money. And I'm like, why? Why would you? Why are you And it is they've been sold the dream of like this points, or it's quite, it's the black card, it's the whatever. It's an alien concept to me, but a lot of people do it. It's probably the norm more so than paying on debit for absolutely everything. Just don't get it.
What about the people who are saving up sinking funds and everything and then paying on credit card but just moving from sinking funds? Is that fine? Or is that...
Well, it's an extra bit of admin.
Yeah.
Why would they do it?
For
the points, is that what you mean?
Points.
Or the benefits, the protection. I think a few people in our community do it for the protection point. If anyone ever says...
Yeah, and I get it for the big ones as well, especially. Again, like the higher your emergency fund, like, do I really care about a 50 quid top that I've bought with a credit card for the protection? Again, I've got my own consumer rights about if the top doesn't get delivered or if the company goes bust or stuff. But also I can take a 50 quid loss. Like and it's interesting. Like that's the payoff for me. There is a bigger risk with credit cards that you go into more debt, that costs you money on interest, that costs you your income, that slows you down financially. That, depending on the amount of money, that outweighs the perceived risk of, it's better to buy something on a card. That's where you start to look at the value of the thing that you're buying, and it might hit a certain, at what level would you like that to go on a card?
Credit,
And interestingly, it might sound a privileged thing to say, for what I spend even on some quite expensive holidays, got a family of 5, I still don't put it on card.
I don't put it on card.
I have travel insurance all the time. So I'm protected in some insolvency cases, and I pay on debit card. So I've got chargeback. I do not need the Consumer Credit Act on my side. I'm happy. I would rather use those other 2 avenues. Like, I'm not saying I'd rather lose, however many thousands on a holiday, but my perceived risk of debt is so high.
Yeah.
The risk of what it can do to you as a family and what it can do to you as people means the protections. It's really hard for a lawyer to say this. The protection's not worth it, but I'm making up the protection in other ways. So, I'm very happy to not put lots.
My husband's got one for work, and then there was the other week, and he's like, "So just put it on the credit card because," and I was like, "What?
Divorce?
Sorry, what did you say? Say it again for those in the back." And he was like, "I just had to put it on the credit," and he said it, and he was like, "Why did I do that?" I was like, "I don't know." He was like, I panicked. I can't even remember what it was. And I was like, so now we've got to go through that statement, because it's like, you've got work things, you've got personal things mixed in there, and it's all messed up.
Little one there, a lot of people do actually have a credit card for work expenses, because workplaces are so bad at paying
your expenses
Carl
back.
had one for years. We just don't, obviously he doesn't travel as much now, but when he travelled, sometimes this is more more recently, so not in the early days, but the company would pay the expenses on the last working day of the next month.
That's so
So
cool.
2 paydays away. Like if you happen to have travelled on the first of the month, it was the last day of the next month that they were paying. So that's 8
That's
weeks.
so bad.
And we're talking hotel rooms, dinners, taking clients out, petrol,
No.
like food,
Oh my gosh.
I don't like that.
You have to front the cost.
His bill sometimes was thousands.
I think that's
And
how
that's how he
people-
got a card.
I think
because
sometimes that is a gateway for people getting into debt where they're too embarrassed to say to their employer, do you know,
oh,
like
yeah,
this
that's
is
a good script to give
this isn't-
people. What's the
yeah.
script? Holt?
This doesn't
What should they
marry
say?
up.
What should they say? You have to go away and you need to fund it all and just claim it back.
people. That's literally the everyday, isn't it? For
Yeah, so
people?
what do you say back
I don't
when
know.
you'd
I
be
don't
like-
like confrontation. Take my money, I'll pay for it. It's fine. Don't mention it.
Pay me back.
Keep the change. That's what I'm saying, okay? Do you know what I mean?
Like,
Like, a lot of
no.
people will have reverted to, like Carl, have had to go, the math isn't mathing, I can't sustain that. I'm
I
going to
get a
have to get
card,
a
yeah.
credit card and then sew the cycle. Because it's a personal
And
like,
it was
credit
never
card,
a points
isn't it?
card.
No? Did you get, what benefits did you get? Nada.
The interesting thing about air miles as well, especially for us that are north of Watford, is Avios is usually like most air miles are like your Virgins or
BA.
BA. You can't fly out of the north easily. And we've had a voucher once because of COVID for some BA flights, and honestly, God, it was a pain
the
in the ass.
biggest
We couldn't go
pain.
anywhere. And then everything was more expensive or lengthier. In the end, we were like, this is a burden, not a
It
curse.
was.
We'll
We
give
ended
it
up
away
going to
anyone.
Barcelona via Heathrow.
Which was with kids, which was so annoying because we had to go down and then back up again. Oh, no, you don't go back up again, but it felt like
Yeah.
we were going out of our way
Yeah.
to enter Heathrow of our own
Oh my
choice.
God.
Don't do it.
Okay, time for our first dilemma of the day. I'm a London shopaholic in the trenches. Hello, Vault ladies. First off, big fat love to the podcast.
Ah.
I've watched all the episodes now and just joined Financielle as a premium member because I'm determined to get my money shit together. So I'm not constantly stressed the week before payday. I've got 2.5k debt to PayPal and 3.5k on a credit card. I've kicked Klarna and PayPal Pay in 3 to the curb. Woo, yay. So now I really want to tackle the remaining debt. I'm in the hopeful process of getting a promotion that would take my salary to 40k. I live in London with my boyfriend and we split bills proportionally. He earns more than me, so he contributes more. I really want to tackle this debt this year, but my problem is impulse spending. I know I'm such a rubbish spender and I constantly make excuses like, oh, well, this will be the last purchase. And I'm stuck in the cycle. I've tried the 48-hour rule, but my issue is I still want everything after 48 hours.
Kudos for the honesty, by the way.
Are there any other workarounds for really knuckling down and being super strict on not impulse spending? I've got sinking funds and an emergency fund covered, so now it's just about getting the ball rolling with trying to reframe how I see spending. Any tips for a London shopaholic in the trenches would be so appreciated. Thank you.
Lucy, you have done so much content on this on TikTok. Have you got any thoughts? Like, first thing that springs to mind is socials. Like, it is so difficult to navigate this life at the moment.
The only thing I think of,
She's saying shopaholic though, like
yeah, I think
addicted.
in London, living in London, like I go and see my friend in London every now and again, and it feels like a
London?
city break. And I'm like, how do you live this life every single day?
Yeah.
And like,
shops walkable. Like
Yeah.
good shops walkable.
Yeah.
Tubable.
and like even where I live, obviously it's like, it feels like a teeny town,
Yeah.
especially compared to London. I walk out and I can spend at least like £10 on a lunchtime walk.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I need to grab this,
Yeah.
like a top-up
Gales.
shop, whatever.
Gales.
Gales. And I'm like, if I lived in a city, it would be game over for me because
it?
you couldn't even go on a walk and escape.
Yeah.
You know, I can turn right and be like, I'm going to walk through the fields.
Yeah.
You can't do that in London.
Yeah. No, it's true. The temptation is all around.
Everywhere.
Everything's.
It's impossible.
We always laugh because, like, we go down to London with work, and I'm always like, "How do people live here? No one talks to me on the tube, and no one's looking at me in the eye." And Laura's thing is like, I always say, "Oh, I don't know how people can do it." She's like, "No, you feel sorry for people," and I do. I'm like, and she's like, "You feel sorry for Frank that's going back to his penthouse in like Mayfair."
Yeah.
Because he's sat on the
It's a shame
tube
for Frank.
and he looks a bit sad. He might have just lost like $500,000, you know, with his portfolio.
You definitely have, like I've lived in the city and I've worked in the city before, and if you're a metropolitan person, it is amazing. We talked about that, like whether you like shows or whether you like the buzz of lots of different people, lots
Arts
of different
and culture,
there's so many benefits to it, but that all costs money. And she says shopaholic, so she must mean things. And so we've got the impulse spending unlocked out there, so people can watch that. And Lucy, you and I worked on that together to work out of all the content we have on it and all the stories we have, like how do we help someone. And a couple of things that spring to mind is firstly, understanding the emotional trigger to the impulse spending. Why are you shopping? And only you can answer that. We can't answer that. And with some of the examples we give are things like, are you bored? Like, are you wandering? Because actually, if, for example, I'm bored, I want to get my steps at lunchtime, then choose a different route. Choose the field. Find the field in London. Like change, you might set yourself a fitness goal. You might go to the gym on your lunch. You might work through your lunch and finish early. You might take steps and like go to a museum, whatever things are. But if it's a boredom thing and you're physically walking, try and address that. The other one is if it's social media and scrolling and you're being influenced, really looking at like some of these apps. You've seen some really, what's the app that you use?
I've got Opal and it kind of blocks apps. So for the like mine weirdly is WhatsApp. Like I spend so much time.
Kid groups, that's why. Activity groups.
And you just then get sucked in. And it's it's continuously distracting. Boom, 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 messaging all the time. But you can put restrictions on Instagram, TikTok, any app. You literally choose from your phone what's the trigger, what's the thing that's draining my time, resource, energy, mind. You can just set a blanket ban on it and it just turns it off. Yeah.
If you're either through boredom or because the other example that you gave, Lucy, before on the pod I did was validation. Like if this influencer has got this coat and you want that coat because you want to feel like that influencer, you want to feel as modern, as up to date, as trendy, that the social media will fuel that. And then there's usually a link that you can click to obviously buy that thing. Then you can do there's a couple of things. There's the treat the symptom, which is like take away the Instagram thing because that's the trigger for it. But it's not treating it's not curing it, which is really, and I find this a lot when people are big shoppers, it's a self-esteem thing. It's because I need to look a certain way. I've seen the girls on Instagram look like this. I want to look like this. And there's nothing wrong with that. But the way that you come about it is you're never going to buy enough. Never. There is not enough things in the world. You've seen the richest people in the world don't find fulfillment in buying things. You can get a dopamine hit from it, but that falls off. So this is where your budget comes in. So if you do like to buy things, you can still buy things, but you set yourself a budget for them and don't make it too tight that you're not going to stick to it. Yeah. We'd rather you have a slower journey, but have permission to spend. Because what we find is when you have permission to spend,
you won't spend it.
You won't spend it, not as much.
It's like payday, you can never find anything in Zara. We always talk about it. And the minute you've got no money, like jumper, skirt, coat, bag, like they're amazing. They're all amazing. Payday comes.
Credit. You'd be
payday
like,
comes around and you're like,
it's not real money. Awful. But if you are the London shopaholic, which is going to be like anonymous name, I like that. There's a reason you're wanting to shop a lot, and things like low or no spend challenges can help because it's for a period of time. So the 48-hour rule didn't work for you. I think that's because you still find a need to buy things. I promise you, if you can disconnect from this buying for 30 days, 60 days, something like that, and you really work on yourself and your self-esteem and your value, and you don't connect your value to things that you buy, you'll do it less. You'll find you won't get that like treat reward system from it. You'll kind of break that cycle. It's really hard to do when
you
you're
need
trying
to like flip that dopamine hit to be like either saving or selling something on Vinted, like money, like what is it going to, what's the goal? Sometimes when there's not a clear enough goal, there's no real drive to save money or to not spend. If there's no goal, you're like, what am I doing it for? Like I have fun spending money, so I'm going to continue. If it's like we want to go on this holiday or we want to be debt free, like making that goal fun, like putting it in the app, personalize it, get it up on the fridge at home, like color it in, whatever it is to make it like that aesthetic thing to replace.
I love how she did the phone thing though. So help us out, Lisa. Like you did the phone list a lot. That was like
the 48-hour rule.
But what do you do if still want it?
I guess
on the list.
I mean, I feel like the 48-hour rule isn't the same as like the writing it in a no spend challenge. I think the 48-hour rule, if you do really want it, that's when you just make a sinking fund for it. And if it is something that you can't take out of a sinking fund right now, and it's like, oh, it's on sale, I can only get it now.
Tough.
You just can't get it.
Yeah, you could snowball that list.
Yeah.
And do
But
when you hit certain
prioritize
challenges.
it. Yeah.
But I do think doing a no spend or a low spend and like doing that extreme challenge, whether it's a week, 2 weeks, a month, I think that does reframe it for you, and it does just like
You realise you don't need the thing.
Yeah.
Because
you need that time of like not having any of it. It's almost easier to do that than like I'm allowed one impulse purchase a week.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
pretend
not.
we're going shopping with you, like on your shoulder, right? I need a new winter coat. I need one, guys. Do I need one?
No, I've got one.
So
I just want a new one.
I've got a couple of different options. They're not all as aesthetic. I've got an aesthetic one that was cheaper that I bought when I was called out and about, and it looks good for like on camera and filming and stuff, but it's not warm. And so really, I would love that. I would love a Whistles version of that. So do I have 300 quid?
No.
I don't have that. So I don't need one. You know, it's just, we can convince ourselves of anything.
Yeah.
And it's amazing what you can do when you go,
No.
I don't need that thing.
And then when you walk away and you get home and you're like, I don't have anything to put away.
patting yourself on the
Let's
back.
tidy.
Also, just remind yourself of everything that you've impulse bought and how that at the start it was like a dopamine hit, like, oh, I've got this new coat, but it just fades into the back of your
Such a
wardrobe.
sap.
Everything in your wardrobe
Yeah.
was probably a
Yeah.
dopamine hit.
Really exciting at the time.
Yeah,
The
now
thing
it's
that
just
you
like,
needed.
You probably hate your wardrobe. I think definitely printing off your statement from the month before, going through all the things and being really honest with yourself that you
How many
impulse
times
bought.
did you wear it?
Adding it up as a total and be like, what could I have done with that money? Where would that have been better to go? Paying off my debt. I could have say it was 500 quid that you impulse spent throughout the month. I could have knocked 500 quid off my debt.
Yeah.
Do you know what's really humbling? Like she could probably do a really big Vinted or eBay journey with all of it. If she's a shopaholic, self-confessed, she's probably got loads of stuff.
How much
Look
you
at how
actually
much you actually
make.
get for it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, you know, you bought it for this and you actually sell it for this.
The
and,
item that you want, go and look how much people are selling it for on Vinted, and I bet you don't buy it.
and ironically, you know, she's got $6,000 debt to go. She can absolutely lean in. Obviously, hopefully this shopping might be derailing some of that so we can get after it. But some of that 6K was not with money that you didn't have. Like it wasn't your money.
Yeah.
You know, it was someone else's money. I think when you think about that, like I actually can't afford it because you can't. Like because you will be able to put in your budget what you can afford and you can spend that. The minute you start to exceed what you're putting in your budget, you're spending money that's not yours. That's where the credit comes in. I think sometimes that's quite a harsh lesson for us all to learn, which is if you are putting this on credit or if some of it ends up on credit or you run out of money at the end of the month and you need to rely on credit, you literally use someone else's money.
Yeah.
You literally can't afford it.
It's so hard in this day and age. Like back in the day, I was trying to think who are we influenced by, and it was like magazines, you know, like to spend money.
Which was slow.
Yeah, and they were rich and famous people, so
Yeah.
you were removed from them. But now it's so dangerous because Rebecca down the road's are now an influencer, and she's buying a haul. She's taking it back.
Yeah.
She's taking it back. Oh, she's getting
Getting
paid.
sent for free.
Literally, she's getting it sent for free. So you're
getting
comparing
paid to do
yourself
it.
to normal people going, if she can afford it, why can't I? We literally live 10 doors down from each other. Whereas back in the day, Victoria Beckham's got the thing, well, I can't afford that because it's Victoria Beckham. Whereas you
That's
compare,
so true.
you're making yourself compare to your peers, but it's not the truth. It's not as much as you like it.
cycles are so much quicker as well because it's just all instantaneous. You know, something used to go in a magazine and you could go to the shop and it still be in stock. Whereas now that's all seasons of blurred. Like you used to work in fashion buying, like seasons of blurred now.
There's no season out. There's no massive
really.
seasonality in terms of like Christmas, Easter, but
Yeah.
it all
Just
blends
drops,
into one.
Drops.
And you've got
drops.
influencers creating Pinterest board, like, boom, and you can buy the Pinterest board.
Yeah.
So not only do you just want to buy one item, those trainers, you want to buy the jeans that they put with it, and the bag, and the hat, and the scarf, it's just so accessible. And there's links to it all. It's just, there's no friction. There's not much friction
I was
anymore.
really enjoying I really like Victoria McGrath. She's a Wiganer in the Fro who just hit 1 million subscribers on YouTube and amazing. And I really enjoyed a recent video of hers where she did a Net-a-Porter haul. But she's so honest with it. She works with them. She gets credits with them. And she just made a comment which was, I am completely mindful that all you see sometimes is me with new deliveries and new things. what Victoria's got a PhD in fashion. Like she's very knowledgeable. When you
She's
hear her
OG
talk
blogger,
about,
fashion blogger.
but she talks about like the stitching and the cuts and like she knows her stuff. She's not just prancing up and down in nice outfits. She knows her stuff. And what she said is, she does do this for all of us. She said, I love looking at how you can put together different pieces effectively, like what are good investment pieces, what really isn't a good use. But she said, I'm mindful that that's my job to do that, but that's my job. Like I'm basically a walking magazine. Yeah. It's not my life. Like it's not real life. It's for a magazine shoot. And it made me think of that actually that's how we consume fashion content nowadays. I can't remember the last time I read a magazine. I go there. And she called out the fact that this isn't real. This like nice little haul. I would never go out and buy all this because I have variations of these things. In fact, she
tends to rewear things a lot.
She tried
as well.
some pants on and she was like, "I'm going to send these back because I have them. They're 4 years old and they're still out. I wanted to see if they're still the same fit and the same cut and stuff." And she sent them back.
Try and follow like authentic people.
Yeah.
Or funny people. Maybe just like block all your fashion people for a bit and just see how you get on.
Good luck though.
It's so
Tell us how you
tempting.
get
You're not on
debt.
your own.
We want a debt-free like scream from you guys. Shout out.
Community win time. I started Financielle only a few weeks ago and already I feel totally locked in. I love the term locked in, by the way.
The vault.
How apt.
I used to overspend so easily, but now I feel fiercely protective of my money. I'm constantly looking for ways to increase my emergency fund so I can eventually pay off my debt. I'm getting the same buzz from my saving that I used to get from spending. And now the thought of spending on anything frivolous is quite horrifying. It's my first payday tomorrow since starting the journey, and I'm so excited for my first proper month of budgeting and saving.
That is literally like poetry. You're like,
you need to speak to the dilemma
I'm just
girl.
about to say,
Coffee.
shutting my eyes, that is the win from the person
in
that
like
you just
6
read the
months,
dilemma.
London Shopaholic is going to write in 3 months' time and give that exact one.
Literally, she was like, in my head, I was like, she needs to speak. Let's connect you both.
Yeah.
Like you can say, when she was being fiercely protective of where her money goes, you want that other person
That's the switch
to
you need
feel
to do.
fiercely protective about where their money goes. Yeah,
it's mine.
Yeah. You want her to feel that protected. Like if you're in that mindset, nothing's stopping you.
Yeah.
Nothing is stopping you. Well done. That was amazing.
If you'd like to tell us your win, head to the community in the app or email it to thevault@financielle.com. Final dilemma. I'm in student loan hell. Hi ladies. I need some help, guidance, or maybe just a kick up the arse with my student loan. I left university in 2017 after completing a 4-year undergraduate and a 1-year postgraduate course, so I'm on Plan 2 and PG. When I left uni, I think I had about 59k worth of student finance debt. Now I have 80k. And loads of exclamation marks. I was under the impression that student loans wouldn't affect my affordability until a lender pulled out of a mortgage offer recently after finding my student loan. I pay about £250 a month of my paycheck back to student finance, and that's on a good month. I work in public service, so I often earn a lot more than my basic salary due to overtime. But my gripe is that when I see I should be getting around £800 in overtime, I end up getting £200 because student finance has taken their cut of my hard work. I appreciate that I do need to pay it back, and I'm frustrated that the interest rate keeps going up and up. It's not what I originally agreed when I started uni. My question is there a better way I can manage this? It's so disheartening losing so much money each month and having even more taken when I do overtime. I've even halved my pension contributions just so I have some money left over each month since that's something I can actually control. I'm 31 now and my loan won't be written off until I'm 55. I've even looked at moving abroad because I was previously told that you could move for a few years and it would get written off, but that's no longer the case. I started tracking my net worth in the app and checked my outstanding balance for student finance in December and then again in January. It's gone up £394 when I just had £200 taken out of my pay towards it. How can it go up that much within a month? For reference, my interest rate for my undergrad is 4.3% and my postgrad is 7.3%. And side note, I'm not even using my degrees in my current job, which makes it an even more bitter pill to swallow. Any guidance or harsh words to say I've just got to lump it would be great.
Hero.
You want to read these out to the government, don't you? Of people just, this system is broken.
Yeah, and Holly and I, speak from a position of privilege because we both were able to get further education at a time when it was much more accessibly priced, much more accessibly. Yours was more expensive than mine. I went pre-top-up fees. They introduced top-up fees, as we've always shared on here. We were fully supported by parents. We did have student loans, but we had they were like maintenance loans, so they were
very small.
Fees were paid, but they had interest rates on them. And I always remember people at the time going, it's the cheapest. Like I possibly might not have needed a loan because I worked 2 jobs during uni. It was kind of like my absolute fun money. But on reflection, just like how everyone does with student loans, like you just squander it on rubbish. I went on a skiing trip, I've said that before. And it wasn't that good. I had to go on a coach and then I flew back. I think that was worth the money. I flew back. I was like, not coming with you guys. See you later. But I remember at the time people talking about, don't worry, it's not counted for mortgages. It's the cheapest it'll ever loan that you'll ever get. Like it's not bankruptable. Like all these things. It's good debt, the G word. And honestly, at the time as well, like interest rates have been low for a very long time, and it tracks like kind of the base rate and stuff usually. So it was a cheaper debt. But I remember like graduating and checking what it was, because at the time, I was paying it off straight away. And I was expecting it to be the total of what I've borrowed. But interest starts accruing from the very first payment. And I was like, what? And even then I was at the first step of, I feel like I've been screwed over. Yeah. And now you fast forward to now, which the cost of university now, and the fact that we've got someone who's done a 4-year undergraduate degree and then a year postgrad, and she's not using it at all, helps to show why so many people are disillusioned with the system and frustrated with it, because it's not their fault that they're not using the same thing. It's because you pushed into this like educational field, get a degree, you'll get a job, and then you come out the other side and life's different. I'm also conflicted because it's a level of education for lots of people. So many people from working class or even lower middle class backgrounds don't have access to like investment banking, lawyers, doctors, unless they get unless they get a university education and go that way. Yeah. They've not got daddy's friend, in at the office that can get them an internship. It doesn't work like that. So it's much harder. And so I always hate the idea. We always say, I don't know what to say to my kids. So they have to work out what I thought they wanted to do and where their skill set was. Mm-hmm. And then we are saving and coming up with a plan to try and tackle it. So I'm opening with that because I just empathize massively. It's a massive bubble. It's so misunderstood. And we get a couple of these a week. This dilemma we've picked yours and we're wanting to help you, but
and people you speak to as well, everyone's worried about it or stressed about it or fed up about it and vocal about it. Everyone's in the same position. It feels like everyone's been hoodwinked a little bit. I feel like the goalposts have changed a lot whilst people are still stuck in the system. Things change as people like enter a 4-year degree and then they go, and you're like,
changing.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
So for example, like interest rates change, like no one thinks that would happen. And we've had a really bad interest rate environment for people with loans and mortgages and stuff. So that would never have been factored in. So this is where she's saying, I'm paying it off and it's going up by more than I paid it off. That's correct. It's all driven by interest rates. So you've got that element to it. And you've got that. And then you've also got like thresholds changing. So the government are constantly looking. So recently they brought down the threshold, even though inflation's been going up, down the threshold at which you would start paying it. So a lot of people suddenly were brought into paying it off and hadn't previously been paying it off. And so the threshold's gone lower. So you have to earn less and suddenly you start in paying it off. And different rules that she's already spoke about. I think definitely where I see student loans, I think there's the harsh words, which is the Mel Robbins, no one's coming. Like this debt isn't getting like written off tomorrow.
Everyone got everyone
it's not going anywhere immediately.
I think we had a finance module in my degree, and I'm 99% sure that the lecturer even said, don't worry about your loans. By the time you come to pay them off, the government will write them off. Literally, I swear to I can see her now.
Fashion lecturer.
I can see it. She was like a finance specialist, and I can literally see her saying it, and everybody like, oh, good. No.
sorted.
Yeah, and
No.
these are still nominal amounts, but no one is coming to clear it.
Yeah.
What there are is at the moment there are rules about basically there'll just be points where you just never pay it off.
Yeah.
Because you need to. It's all linked to your earnings. So as she's getting overtime, as she's getting pay rises, more money's paid off. But for many people, the maths doesn't work out and you just never end up paying it. And I think there's one thing that's great about that, like it doesn't impact your ability in terms of like, it's not, so some people aren't putting it on their net worth. It's completely her choice to put it on. But all it is, it's a limiter on your income, a student loan. It's not a debt that if you have to pay it, you can't choose not to because it comes out your salary. So it's not like it's not impacting in terms of borrowing when it's like looking at how much you have. But it does impact your affordability. And they found her loan, like how frustrating, they never knew. But it's because you can say, oh yeah, I earn 50 grand a year salary. But actually, the last, like, do you have any dependents? Like children impact it. Do you have car finance? That impacts it, stuff like that. But also like, do you have student loans? And that's the limiter because they push that all through their affordability calculators and they also put stress tests on loans. So they say, okay, say if you're paying $250 or whatever a month, if interest rates go up, how much would that loan be? And then if our interest rate goes up and your mortgage goes up, it can really impact you there. So you're being squeezed from it is impacting. Yeah. What should she do about it? I think that I always say this to people, forgive yourself the decision to go to university, especially if you don't use it, because that's gone.
That's out your control.
That's like for the rest of your life,
things change.
I should put it alone. Like,
no,
and maybe it was the price that you were meant to pay to learn something differently or to get a particular job or particular opportunity. But it's done. Like, try and see it as a maths equation going forwards. The postgraduate one's interesting because you may, given that it's a high percentage loan, and I honestly don't know this bit and I'm going to learn this so that especially if we can help people in future, but sometimes that's not wrapped up into student finance. Some postgraduate loans are actually private finance. It's not your student loan. I don't know in this case, so I can have a check. But it may be that that's one to go after. It's a high percentage. It'll be a lower amount because it's the 1 year one. So she may feel positive about making progress on a debt-free journey towards that particular loan. But unless you choose actively to overpay your loan, you're not going to outrun it. Like, it's always going to outrun you because of the volume. It sounds like you can earn your way out of it, and you might end up paying it off through your earnings. But I think you need to look at the calculators, and it'll show you, are you ever going to pay it off? Because if you're not, I think this is more of a mental game. Yeah. To kind of park it and go.
Detach from it a bit.
Yeah, and don't be worried about overtime. Sorry, don't not do the overtime because you still get some.
Would you, I was about to say, what is it that you're using the overtime for? If it's gone from 800 to 200, there's like you pay tax anyway. Would you keep killing yourself? I don't know if you are, but to do the overtime, if you know that the reward's only going to be 200, you might go, well, I'm just going to
enjoy my life.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You've got that choice.
I know some people that go, there's no point me earning over that because I get
punished for it, but don't see it as a punishment. It's just that you'll go over a threshold like you would if you, for tax purposes or whatever it might be, or national insurance. You kind of have to see it like that.
Yeah. And like, no, it is hard knowing that every pay rise you get, there's always going to be like that extra claim on your income, but you'll get more. You'll end up getting more off the back of it as well. So it's a super tough one. I could love to know more about if people got student loans. Actually, message in thevault at financielle.com. What are your plans with it? Do you pretend it doesn't exist? Do you keep an eye on it?
Yep.
You, for the first time, looked, didn't you? I don't know if we've talked about it before. And
it's probably gone up, it's probably doubled.
But like, when that's maths, like it's
you protect your headspace with it.
I just think literally 99% of like my friends, we're all in the exact same boat. And I'm just like...
So just let it be.
I've just detached from it.
Okay.
And I'm like, I wasn't going to make another decision. I wasn't not going to go to university.
Yeah.
It wasn't like...
There was another
I knew I wanted to go.
Yeah.
Looking back, I've not got like a degree that I need. But I did it. Whatever. It was fun. I enjoyed it. And like it's obviously got me here.
And you met your partner, you met some friends for life.
Yeah, like it
you
was
lived
the
in an
best.
amazing place. Exactly. And it's kind of what's done is done. And so what are we going to do about it now?
I don't like beat myself up about it. The fact that I've probably got nearly £100,000 worth of student debt, like, is insane. But I'm just kind of like,
Detached. It's a number.
It's a number that doesn't.
it's better that it's that high than it being like 30 grand.
And it's reachable, and then you're like, oh, and I think that's where this is like treating it as like a business exercise. This is where you could do calculators. There are so many helpful ones online, which is like, is it absolutely worth it? Because if it's within reach, I think we'd all be tempted to go after it.
Yeah.
Whereas if it's not, and there's so many other people in the same boat, and the fact that other than it limits your earnings in terms of like it limits your affordability because it reduces your income, doesn't limit your earnings. Like you can still go get a more higher job and a higher job and a higher job.
Yeah.
And yes, they'll keep taking a percentage, but they were going to do that anyway. It shouldn't hold us all back, should it? So it'd be, and the big thing, which we just don't know what's going to happen.
No.
There's so many people in that boat.
She's praying.
You never know.
She's praying.
You never know.
We're all praying.
But the good thing about it in the UK is, because it's different to the States. States is like, there's a whole load of different schemes out there, but it's just automatic, it's taken. So the decision to overpay is the only one that most people have. And given it just doesn't impact us in lots of different ways, I think a lot of people tend to crack on. Cash is king. The more cash you have, at some point, you might turn around and go, I've got 100 grand, I'm going to pay it off. You might do. You might not. But having the option, like, I think what you don't want is people just going, oh, sod it, and then like being rubbish with the money over here as well. And
Yeah. Balances itself out.
So
I do remember that mentality of being like, oh yeah, if you just go traveling for a while, it gets cleared. Everyone's like, oh yeah, we'll just do that. It's
fine. Rumours of, we never know what's going to change. I mean, God, with what we can see in both the UK and the States, no one knows where politics and policy is going to go. What you can control is, one, your mindset, and two, your money. And those are the only two things you can control. So I feel like, I hope we answered her dilemma. It's probably right where they're at with the finances and the fact that it did go up more than you paid off. But you've done nothing wrong. No. And just control what you can control. And don't let it deter you from your financial goals. I'll take your point, Holly. I feel like, don't kill yourself on overtime if you don't want to.
The fact that she's doing the maths,
limit your earnings. Don't limit your earnings. Like, make sure you earn as much. But also, the one mini red flag for me, super, super hard, is you have slowed down your pension.
I know.
Your pension is your wealth. So just make sure, this is where the budget's super important, because there should be room in your budget to do a proper pension investment. Don't be pulling that back so that you can live, laugh, love, because we keep saying it over here. And if then you need to earn more, you need to earn more.
Yeah, the minute I heard half my pension, I was like, oh, you got me.
That is all for this episode. The Vault is now closed. And just a quick disclaimer, The Vault is just a chat around life and money topics. We are not giving financial advice.